Now, Jaguar fans and football fans everywhere are feeling pain this morning when it comes to the Jaguars community. The Jaguars not only lost to the Cincinnati Bengals last night in overtime on Monday night primetime football, the Jaguars' biggest loss of yesterday was with their franchise quarterback, number 16, the prince that was promised, Jacksonville's Jesus, Trevor Lawrence. And Trevor Lawrence has officially been diagnosed after his MRI with a high ankle sprain. The Jaguars yesterday also lost wide receiver Christian Kirk on the first offensive play of the game. He suffered a core injury, and according to Doug Peterson and Adam Schefter, he's going to be out for an extended period of time. They don't really know a timetable for it, and the same thing goes for Trevor Lawrence. The good news is when it comes to Trevor Lawrence and this Jaguars team, it is just a high ankle sprain. It is not a season-ending injury, but the Jaguars still have to find a way to get into the postseason. Now, what does this mean for Trevor Lawrence, and what does this mean for the Jaguars? When I take a look at Trevor Lawrence suffering a high ankle sprain, like I said, this was possibly the best case scenario that the Jaguars and this fan base could have gotten. It wasn't a season-ending injury. This is typically a 4 to 6 week injury in sports, and for the sake of argument, I'm going to say Trevor Lawrence is going to be out 3 to 4 weeks. The Jaguars have 5 remaining games on their schedule. They got at Cleveland versus Baltimore. They've also got Tampa, Carolina, and Tennessee as well remaining on their schedule. Now, the big test is going to come with the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday Night Football, and CJ Beathard now having to go up to Cleveland in a hostile environment in the dog pound and take on one of the top defenses in the NFL. Even though it's Joe Flacco on the other side of the ball, the Jaguars are in for a test. And if Trevor Lawrence is going to be out at minimum 3 to 4 weeks, depending on his rehabilitation, how well physical therapy goes, assuming that there are no setbacks in his recovery time, and also you have to factor in his pain tolerance, expect Trevor Lawrence to at least miss the next 3 to 4 games due to this high ankle sprain. And this is big for the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence was really coming into his own. He was really hitting his stride. This offense was finding its stride. There was a lot more verticality in the offense, especially with Zay Jones coming back opposite side Calvin Ridley. And you saw Trevor Lawrence starting to put it together versus the Tennessee Titans at the Houston Texans. We saw it in the Cincinnati Bengals game. He was phenomenal before going down with injury, and it's just devastating for this Jaguars team. Now, when I look at the next 5 games for the Jaguars that I already listed off, I think the Jaguars have the potential and the capabilities of winning at least the next 4 games, and I mean at least 4 out of the next 5. I don't think that they beat Baltimore. But when you talk about that Cleveland Browns team and that kind of defense, I don't know how much faith I have in CJ Beathard to go ahead and actually go ahead and win in that kind of environment against that type of team and that defense. I've got to see to believe it. This Jaguars team could very well be on the brink of potentially still being the number 1 seed if all goes well and they really pick it up and they start to really figure it all out, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Or this team could really fall flat on their face and they could really start to give up. But I don't expect a Doug Peterson-led team, a Doug Peterson-led locker room, especially when we saw with Philadelphia back in 2017 when their star quarterback, who was in the MVP conversation, Carson Wentz, went down with an injury. In the second half of the season, Nick Foles took over, helped lead them to the postseason as the number 1 seed, and helped make a deep postseason run, and they ended up going on to win the Super Bowl. To have that kind of belief in the locker room and the belief in the trust in the players that you have and the coaches, that is going to be extremely important. We're going to have to see the resiliency of this team. And honestly, I'm just still heartbroken, right? I know that this was the best news that we could have possibly gotten with the outcome, and we saw the pain and frustration on Trevor Lawrence yesterday. But man, this one hurts. I really hope that the Jaguars can get this together. Once I find out more information, once we learn more and we hear more from Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence, and this team, I will do my best to keep you guys updated as well too. But Jaguar fans, I just wanted to get on here, kind of talk about the next slate of games. Let me know what you guys expect from the Jaguars over the next 5 games, and when do you guys kind of see Trevor Lawrence making his appearance back out there onto the field. Like I said, it's all going to be predicated on his rehabilitation, his physical therapy, and if there are going to be no setbacks throughout this entire process. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. And Jaguar fans, just try to keep your guys' heads up. Let's all stick together. Let's all be resilient together. And let's just pray for the best, man. Sunday, we got a big matchup at Cleveland. Brett James, a.k.a. BJ. I'm out, y'all. And like always, let's go Jags.